Welcome back to Gangs All Here, our New York Jets podcast from the New York Post. Jake Brown here, alongside with Brian Costello, coming live from not Miami, Fort Lauderdale. That is in the sunny, rainy, windy. It was windy and rainy today, right? It was an ugly one.
It wasn't raining during the game. It was raining here yesterday a lot, overnight, but it stopped this morning.
Yeah, rain a little bit this morning. Stop for the game. Well, rain of the Jets. That's what we know. 30-0. And the four major sport long playoff drought goes on to year 13. And you hope
Officially a teenager. Jake, officially a teenager.
Officially bar mitzvah years since the Jets.
Driver's license coming in a few years.
The permit, you're starting to practice driving with your parents.
You might start dating soon.
You might start. I didn't start till later, but
who knows?
Start dating.
This could be one of the cool kids, Jake.
You might, be downloading clean versions of rap songs like I did with bar mitzvah money on iTunes. The Jets make it year 13 as they are officially eliminated thanks to their loss, and the Browns win. And, I was on the Bleacher Report app live after the game today, and I was watching that score to make sure it was official, and it became mathematically official because this team.
The Browns game ended before the Texans game because one of the two of them.
Yeah, it was about almost the exact same time. Browns
just both won. Either one of those won or the Bills won. It was over.
Yeah, I was looking at the scenarios.
Joe Flacco knocked the Jets out of the playoffs then, huh?
I mean, it's only right for Joe Douglas that he decided to go with. Zach, he decided with Boyle. He decided on Simeon, who, again, looked
might not be on Joe Douglas there, Jake, but I'll just leave it at that.
You know what I'm saying.
I think there might have been other people in the organization who didn't want them to sign Joe Flacco.
Yeah. Well,
remember, Joe Douglas discovered Joe Flacco, right? And they're for the Ravens. Joe Douglas loves Joe Flacco more than any player he's ever. That's like, as a scout, that's the guy he found. So I think Joe Douglas might have wanted to sign Joe Flacco, and maybe he was overruled.
It sounds like a Woody Johnson. Maybe he was.
Maybe.
Kaz dropping scoops here. We got to look for storylines because it's over, folks. 30-0 Kaz. This team was not prepared. The coaching sucked. The offense sucked. The offensive line sucked. The quarterback sucked. It was Zach. It was a head injury, which I tweeted, Jets fans also left the game with a head injury. We've had a head injury our whole life for rooting for this team. We have a head case. It is how do we do it? It's another year without the playoffs, another disappointing season. Now we know coming in that it was very slim and not happening, but now that it's official, it feels just worse knowing that Christmas Eve, you have to be an absolute lunatic to be going to Jets Commanders, which now becomes a fight for the top 5. The Jets' strength of schedule. The Jets would be ahead of them. They'd win the tiebreaker over them.
Could be Trevor Siemian, Jake, versus Sam Howell too.
It could be Brett Ripien for all we know. Who knows who the hell's going to start at quarterback for the Jets? It's probably not going to be Zach, but man, you got paid to watch this. We watched this for free. It was ugly.
It could be Zach. He was in the locker room after the game, Jake. We're not allowed to talk to him because he's in concussion protocol, but he was there talking to his teammates. He was kind of hanging out. There's sometimes you see a guy with a concussion, like they're in sunglasses, they're on the bus, but by the time we get in there, Zach looked okay. Obviously, I'm not a doctor, and I don't know, how bad the concussion is, but he was talking to people. He was walking around. He was on his phone. It wasn't like he was sitting in a dark room with sunglasses on.
And he went for dehydration. The dehydration thing's bizarre to me because isn't there hot water on the sideline? How bizarre was that? You were there.
Well, sometimes they give him an IV, Jake, in the locker room. Like if it's really, really hot. It wasn't insanely hot here today. That was a weird thing because it was all of a sudden it was dehydration. Then it was a head injury. It wasn't a concussion. Then it was a concussion. So I don't know what happened. And some of the guys saw him going in for x-rays after the game. He got the crap beat out of him. There was one where Chubb landed like his full body weight on him. I didn't think he was going to get up from that one. I'm not sure when the concussion happened. Maybe it happened then. Salah seemed to indicate they called it down. The spotter called it down to check him, but I don't know. And after the fumble on the first series, he was checked in the blue 10. He was in the blue 10 for a little while, so he really got the crap beat out of him.
Yeah, he was under duress on 10 of 15 dropbacks. That if you do the math, that's 2 out of 3. That's 67%. the highest percentage he's seen in his career. So, the offensive line didn't do him any favors, but this team, Kaz, just didn't look prepared. And is this a testament? Is this on Robert Saleh's resume right now for him potentially coming back or not? Because if they look anything close to what they look like today, the rest of the season, I don't know how you argue to bring him back.
Well, you point to last week, right? He pulled out a surprise win last week. But I'm with you, Jake. This is a type of game that gets you fired. It's 30-0, no show. It's terrible. And I think I've defended Salah a lot. I think, he's had a lot of issues with injuries, but his post game bothered me today. He really didn't take any accountability. He blamed it on the offensive line. He kept saying over and over, "This is what happens when you get beat up front." But the Dolphins were without their best player. They were out without their starting center. They were without their starting guard. Their right tackle got hurt during the game, and they looked okay. And there's teams across the league where you look at that have tons of injuries and are doing okay and figuring it out. And like we've said 100 times this season, they don't have to be world beaters. They just have to look competent, and they didn't look competent at all today. I mean, 103 yards, Jake. So if you go through Jets history, which is not great, as you know, there are only 5 instances where 103 yards or less. 3 of them have occurred under Robert Saleh. The last game of the 2021 season in Buffalo is 53 yards, which is the worst in the history of the franchise. Last year in New England, the 10-3 game was 103 yards, and then today was 103 yards. He's not an offensive coach, but this is happening on his watch. He's got to stand up there after the game and say, this starts with coaching, starts with me. I've got to be better. Even if he doesn't believe it, Jake, you got to say it. Just like we got on Zach Wilson last year, he's got to, the quarterback and the coach have to get up there and go, this is on me. I'm going to get better. That's it. I thought, I was shocked today that it was, we didn't, we lost up front, and that was it. Like, I don't know. It was not a good look by Robert Saleh today.
It sounds like a coach who, is fearing the pink slip on his way because, if I'm him, I'd say the smart thing and say, I take blame. They weren't ready. Take some accountability. God, the Jets were sacked more times in the first half than yards. How do you get sacked more times than total yards? That doesn't happen in life. Like, that doesn't happen if a high school team plays an NFL team. That is impossible to pull off. Like, it's hard to wrap your head around, right?
And let's talk about some other guys. Nathaniel Hackett, Todd Downing, Keith Carter. Okay.
Bum.
They were all brought in here to fix this. And Mike LaFleur was fired. The offensive line coach was fired. They brought these guys in. Okay, they're going to fix it. I mean, come up with some answers, man. They're doing play action, and Bradley Chubb is like almost in Zach Wilson's lap as he's turning around. Like, no, you weren't fooling anyone. They had 23 yards rushing, Jake. That's pathetic. 1.9 yards per rush. They had, 1.9 total average on offensive.
1.9 total per play, period.
Yeah, per period.
That's not even a dump off. That's just a dump. Like, that's not a dump off. It's a dump.
Yeah, and like, again, this season more than ever, I feel like you see teams across the league figuring it out, right? With backups, with Cleveland with Joe Flacco, or Cincinnati with Jake Browning. And then if you expand it beyond the quarterback, different offensive linemen, the Miami today. Okay, at 11:30 a.m. you hear Tyreek Hill's not playing. Okay, here we go. So
you're saying there's a chance.
Here we go. The Jets might win this game. I mean, in the press box, some of my fellow beat writers, this is all set up for a Jets win. Jets are going to win. No Tyreek. Jalen Waddle killed them.
152 yards.
Killed them. 60 of those came on one play. I mean, but it's like, this is coaching. It's coaching, and their injuries are only an excuse to a certain point. You've got to figure it out and be competent. And so I think they're all back, Jake, because of Aaron Rodgers and because of the way the timeline is. You're not going to want to go into a rebuild next year with Aaron Rodgers coming back. But this is getting tough to justify any other reasons why they're running it back.
This Aaron Rodgers saga is going to be a 30 for 30 special because you came into this thinking he would save the Jets and we'd have a trip down the Canyon of Heroes for the first time since 1969. He comes here, one, gets hurt 4 plays in. Two, is playing with us, toying with us, now medically clear to play. Will he come back? Will he not? The weekly interviews, oh, rehab's great, everything's great, I'm guilty, blah, blah, blah. To now he has a stranglehold on the franchise where nobody might get fired because of him. To now us hoping that he comes back next year to save the Jets. But with this coaching staff, I don't know if he could even save them unless he's calling every single play. So this
Well,
whole
he will be
situation,
doing that, Jake. The question to me is, will a 40-year-old, soon to be 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers, who last year had maybe the worst season of his career, and then this year didn't play at all, is he going to be Aaron Rodgers next year, or is he going to take a step backwards? And that's I don't want to do this to Jets fans right now because you got nothing this year. At least you can dream about next year, but that's a question mark to me. And anyone who's talking about drafting anything other than offensive linemen right now, you're nuts. This team needs to draft offensive linemen, and they better hit on them because they need players up there. These guys are just not getting it done. And some of them are backups. So right sidelines backups. Mekhi Becton's a first-round pick. He was getting killed by Bradley Chubb today. So Laken Thomas is making a lot of money. He did not have a good game. Like they got to fix this thing.
yeah, it's Tippmann and then everyone else at this point because Laken Tomlinson's got a big contract number, and the Jets could very easily say sayonara in the
I don't
offseason
think
of
they
Laken
can,
Tomlinson.
Jake. I think they're going to probably renegotiate with him.
Restructure. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think. I mean, they can't. You can't get all those offensive linemen. I think you need Vera Tucker to be. I'd probably put him at right tackle. You got Tippmann at center, and you got Tomlinson at left guard, and then you find a left tackle and you find a right guard. That would be my plan for the line.
And also, when your quarterbacks are this bad, and I've said this many times, like the cohesion's not built. You don't have consecutive plays of completions. It's incomplete. And Kaz,
hard for me to put on quarterbacks today, Jake. They had
no, not today. Yeah. But when you set up the defense, and this defense you saw was tired, they're frustrated today. First off, Zach should have just took the sack. Listen, what are you going to do? He's rushed all day. The fumble sets up the touchdown. Then on 4th and 4 to do a fake punt run. I am the king of fake. I love a fake punt. But Thomas Morstead showed you one week he's the best quarterback on the team. Throw it on 4th and 4. Let Morstead throw it.
I'm not even with you there, Jake.
You should have gone for a period. But if you were,
they should have punted. They should have punted and played defense. The only way you beat the Dolphins is playing really good defense and sort of flipping the field. And they had a chance to flip the field there. They were at midfield, punt it. Hopefully Morstead can pin them inside the 5, and you can get the ball back at the 50. And then maybe you have a prayer of doing something if you get the ball at the 50. Instead, you're giving them the ball at the 42. They run a few plays and they get a field goal. And now it's 10. Now you're down 10-0. I thought that was too aggressive, too early. Like let's play the game a little bit before we start doing that.
Yeah, the turnover that led to touchdown and that were the signs. I was like, this is going to be a long, ugly game. I didn't think the Jets would go scoreless and not even put up a freaking field goal. But like, I want to say, put it in one of your best players' hands. Put it in one of your best players' feet. Like, let Thomas do what he's done all year and let him kick it. But if you are going for it, 4 yards is too much to ask for Ashton Davis. It's not like Breece Hall's going up the middle. It's Ashton Davis. So like,
that's fair.
Throw it to Brandon Eccles. Like, do something.
Other coaching point, Jake, is get Garrett Wilson open somehow. Like, get him or run a jet sweep and hand him the ball. I get it. Jalen Ramsey's on him. Jalen Ramsey's great. But look what the Dolphins did with Jalen Waddle. Right? They didn't have Tyreek on the other side. They had Barrios and Robbie Chosen and guys we know. And somehow they got Waddle open, not just for the 60-yarder. They got him open on 3rd down. They got him open on 4th down. They were running crossing patterns, getting him open against good cornerbacks. The Jets cornerbacks are very good cornerbacks, so it's not like they're slouches. Like Garrett Wilson, they didn't target him until the 3rd quarter. And now part of that is the rush, but you got to figure out a way just to get the ball in his
hands. A screen, something.
Keep him open. Motion him. Run a rub route to get Jalen Ramsey off of him. Hand him a jet sweep. Something. He is your most explosive player. Get him the ball. And Breece, like, he did not have a good day running, but like I would be trying to get him the ball passing or something. Like it's
He's your
just
second best receiver right
how
now.
many catches he had? One catch for 6 yards, Jake. I'm just like two targets. After last week, like you saw what he could do in space. Vic Fangio is a fantastic coordinator, and I give him a lot of credit. He obviously went to work on the Jets, and I think McDaniel knows the Jets defense inside and out because of his time in San Francisco. But the Jets coaches get paid a lot of money, right? You can't always just be like, the other coaches did a great job. Like they need, I mean, and Tua, 13 of 13. Like it's insane. He was 21 of 24.
Mhm.
It's insane. The only surprise to me, Jake, was that Mike White didn't throw a touchdown to Robbie Chosen.
Ugh.
Because that I
No,
felt
I
like
thought it
that
was
was
Barrios. I think I put
embarrassing.
Barrios in a parlay because I was like, Barrios is getting a revenge touchdown
I thought
against.
Chosen would get one. I just felt
Uh,
that coming, and did I think Mike McDaniel took some pity on his friend in the second half and didn't go crazy.
he was not the chosen one indeed today, and that whole name change to me is ridiculous. Like Chad Ochocinco does it, it's funny, and he's a great player. Robbie Anderson does it. You're mediocre, but listen, when you get a lot of money like he did, I guess you could do what you want. And yeah, you mentioned the coaching and Garrett Wilson. It was interesting after the game. And Garrett Wilson's pretty good about not calling anyone out. He didn't really call anyone out here, but he made an intriguing comment, like just to what you said about Jalen Waddle getting open and what the Jets aren't able to do that for him. I think they have a lot of pieces in their favor that make it easier for scheme. Tyreek goes down, they put Waddle in there, and he goes for 150, and that's it. That's the ball I grew up loving, but that's not how it's going to be. I got to figure out how to be better, run better routes, be better in the meeting rooms, figure out how I can be involved early. That's not his job. His job is to do his job and not coach. The coach's job is to get it to him. So, this better change next
How
year.
about
Like,
how about Alan Lazard's comment, Jake? Did you see that one?
what did he say?
We got out schemed and out efforted.
I mean, I don't even know at this point because
Woo!
Rodgers has made little tips to some bad coaching, and you see it on the sideline, like to him shaking his head. He even said on McAfee he didn't like a call one time, and that's why he was shaking his head. He didn't like Hackett's call. And then you had the video today of Garrett looking routes and talking to Aaron. You probably saw that.
So
Everyone was trying to read lips to what he say, but no one's happy with this coaching staff. And I don't know how you could sell, oh, well, Hackett's his best friend. Oh, he came here because of solid. I don't know how you sell this to the fan base, especially here if they lose out. If they finish 5-12, how do you sell? Well, we won that game against the Texans, and we won a game against the Eagles, so that was cool. No, that's not
I
cool.
mean, look, the Commanders are dead in the water, right? Their coach is getting
Brissett
fired.
looked good today, though, coming in late. Brissett
They,
might start
they
next week. So
fired their defensive coordinator, right? This is a team you have to beat. Have to.
yeah.
So they could salvage something against them. The Browns game is going to be ugly. You know that. Those are two good defenses. That's going to be ugly. And then the Patriots stink. So these are three games where can they win two or three of them? Can they make the third one ugly? And maybe you feel bad. I mean, obviously they can't look like this today, but the Dolphins are a very good team. So I don't think they're going to look like this against those three.
How pathetic they were today, combined with the fact that they are now eliminated from playoff contention, I might take back my, just win games the rest of the season
Oh, you're
statement
going to go
at this
tank?
point. I just thought today was so unacceptable that
Well,
you can tell guys are going to check out and, as we say, make business decisions going to the offseason. And we've entered business decision season, and it starts on Christmas Eve. And I think the Jets coaches all deserve coal and they all deserve a pink slip. And I think you go back with Rodgers next year and you start with the French coach. This team needs
yeah,
an offensive
you
mastermind,
can't
and
do that.
Saleh is so unaware of anything offensive that this team is offensive to watch.
I get it, but you can't. It just doesn't make logical sense to have a new coaching staff with Rodgers. Like it doesn't. What are you gonna do? Let him hire the coach because that's what you have to do to make sure he's gonna come back. And if you hire a new coach, you're probably gonna rip apart this defense. Like unless you hire someone to run solid system, but what's the point of that?
But what
Uh,
says you don't get the right coaches and it turns around for the better? Because it legit, you always say it can't get worse, but with Rodgers, you would hope it can't get worse than this.
I think they get one shot next year, Jake, and with Rodgers,
All right. Well, listen, it comes down to the end of the players on the field, but Man, when you have some deficiencies like this team does and injuries like this team does, coaching stands out a lot more than it would usually do. And this coaching staff really sucks right now. Well, Vic Fangio, Kaz, you said it, does it again. Shuts
Yeah,
down Zach in his rookie year with the Broncos, shuts down Zach and Simeon today. I mean,
he's a great
Dolphins,
coach.
yeah, he's a good coach. How about their
That
defense?
was that was the biggest acquisition the Dolphins made this offseason,
Hmm.
right? It wasn't a player, it was the defensive coordinator. And he's very good. He's very good. And the Dolphins defense had a bad ending to the game on Monday night against the Titans. They folded, but overall he's just so good. And he coached circles around Nathaniel Hackett and Todd Downing and Keith Carter. I want to include them too because I don't think it's just Nathaniel Hackett making every decision. I think the three of them were brought in together to do this, and the three of them are failing miserably.
Yeah, it's going to be intriguing to see come Black Monday if everyone's back here
Yeah,
and
you got. I mean, if they had to have some scapegoat, Jake, you wonder who it is. I mean, Keith Carter could be the guy. Like the offensive line is abysmal, but that seems pretty weak to me because he's had 11 different starting offensive lines. So, but this one was the worst of the bunch.
13 straight years, like 13. And I said this before, the only and Christmas Eve it happens to be the last home game. So at the best thing possible is that the last two are not at home. So like there's one meaningless
Yeah.
game and then they're done. They better give every fan that walks into that building a goodie bag. They better give every fan free food. These fans deserve so much better. If you're showing up to that game, you deserve more than like a goodie bag next week. You deserve more than a medium Pepsi. You deserve something
You should
because
get to
not
call the plays. I think they should rotate the plays around. Whoever, there's probably going to be 12
flea
people.
flicker, reverse. Man, if
Let
I
them
had the
call the
playbook,
plays.
oh my God, Jets score 42 points, no matter
Yeah.
who the quarterback is. I mean, it's
Yeah, 13
unbelievable.
years, 13 years, Jake. I've seen every game. And you
So
know,
your first full year on the
yeah.
beat was the start of the drought, right?
Yeah.
2011.
So
So does the curse of the gods.
In March of 2011, Jay, I had a job offer from another outlet, and Chris Shaw, our boss, came to me and said, what about the Jets beat? Like, you take that over. They've got Rex, they've got Sanchez coming off of two championship games. Like, this is a hot young team with a great coach, a great quarterback. So I thought I was walking into like covering the hottest team in town, which they were at the time. And 13 years later, or well, 13 seasons later, right? Here we are. And I have not covered a playoff game as the beat writer. I did cover playoff games as a sidebar guy when Canizero was the beat writer. But yeah, it's rather remarkable, Jake. Maybe it's me. I don't know.
I think it might be the curse of the gods. I don't know. Was it another New York newspaper that offered you? Are you allowed to? It's 13 years. I think it's past the statute
Yeah, it
of
was a New Jersey newspaper,
the
Star
New
Ledger.
Jersey Bergen, the Star Ledger to
Yeah.
be overall sports, or what was it?
To be a baseball columnist. I
Oh,
was
you
covering
should have done
baseball back.
baseball instead. Oh, you messed up. You could have saw at least, the Mets make the World Series. Actually, yeah, they made one since 2011. Yankees have not made any, if I'm not
No,
mistaken, since
no, they haven't
2011.
made
So
any.
it wouldn't be that much better doing baseball, I guess. But man,
Yeah.
13 years. And you chose the Post, which is still the Post. It's still one of the
Uh,
most iconic papers. So.
and for all the Post readers that are listening, saw an old friend from the Post today. Mark Berman was at the game, Jay, covering
Oh.
for the Palm Beach Post.
I thought he was covering like middle school women's basketball or something
Yeah,
down
well,
there.
he does a lot of tennis down here, and they had him as an extra guy for the Jets game today. So great to see the famous Berman of the Post.
Has he moved to Florida full time? Like
Yes, he lives in Florida. Yeah.
and he's doing that full time, or is he like retired
Well, he's
slash?
retired. He just does like part-time stringing. They call it stringing when you're just a part-timer. Like, yeah, so he does like, what he wants. I think he's substitute teaching down here as well. I think he might be like coaching tennis or something too.
What?
Yeah.
Mark Berman is substitute teaching?
Can you imagine?
No, with his earring in his left ear, like
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
listening to like Linkin Park or whatever the hell.
He lost a lot of weight. He looks good. He looks good, and he was He
So
was
he
in the
was
press box.
credentialed in the
Yeah,
booth
he was.
with you
Yeah, he was
guys.
in the press box in the Jets locker room.
Uh,
Yeah.
that on the day the Jets were eliminated, Mark Berman was
Yep.
in Florida covering the game. We truly live in a bizarre world here. Well, 30-0, 5-9, and we begin to talk about Tankathon. We'll preview the game
Yeah. What
Sunday.
are we going to talk about the rest of the season, Jake?
We gotta get some celebrity guests on here, hopefully promoting like a movie or something. I didn't get to do. I was supposed to potentially interview Zach Efron tomorrow, which I love Zach Efron, but it won't be happening sadly. But yeah, it's gonna be a rough. Listen, this is about for the top 5 pick. That's we got to make the game mean something because it's legit a meaningless game. If the Jets win, the Jets lose out, they will pass the Commanders and likely finish in the top 5. So that's what they have going for them right now. Otherwise, another season down the drain. And Kaz, we'll close it with this. We can now confirm, right? I know he's medically clear, but Aaron Rodgers will not play this season.
Yeah, they're nuts if they play him, Jake. I mean, who knows? Like, I won't rule it out because I don't know who in the building has the guts to tell him no. Like, if he says I'm playing, but they have to tell him no. Like, there's nothing to play for. It was, could he? I mean, there was this like people were talking about could he come in for a series against the Patriots just to say he did it? He came back. Ugh, I guess, but I hope there's grown-ups in the room that say like this is not worth it, Aaron.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, the Jets don't have many grown-ups in the room the way they're coaching right now. But yeah, no shot. And I think he saw all the sacks and the hurries, and he's like,
Yeah.
why the hell would I put myself
I
out
mean,
there?
if you
Right.
watch this offensive line today, you'd be like, who's volunteering to play quarterback behind that offensive line right now?
Listen, the Rodgers revenge story will have another layer if he could come back and lead this team to even the playoffs right now. I think that's the hope, and a long off season ahead. Whether it's firings, getting a number 2 receiver, fixing the old line. What do you do to Bryce Huff? Do you bring him back with a contract? A lot of restructure contract. Those are conversations we're gonna have to be having here in the next few weeks. Now that the final 3 games don't matter, and you get a trip to East Rutherford, Cleveland, and Foxborough. Like, could you choose 3 more hoop holes to go to than those 3?
Oh, I don't insult East Rutherford like that.
I mean,
I love East
the
Rutherford.
the swamps, Cleveland in December. It's gonna be freezing on a Thursday night, mind you. It's not like you're there on the weekend. And then Foxborough in a game that matters for neither team. I mean, good
The
God,
Foxborough thing could be interesting because it's going to, if it's Belichick's last game in New
that's
England,
true.
that'll be interesting.
And to see if the Jets end the drought against them.
They can
Like
end the drought
that's
against them. Like, do they end the drought against them and lock up the Patriots a quarterback, with the number 2 pick or something? So I
yeah, the
think,
Panthers winning today changed things. Well, the Panthers pick will go to the Bears number 1, but
yeah,
Panthers won today.
yeah. There's it always stays interesting, Jake, even when you think it's not going to.
Well, that game's interesting. And listen, the Browns game's interesting because Cleveland will be fighting for a playoff spot. So for them, it'll be
Oh,
interesting as the Jets try and play some
Flacco. I
well.
mean, Flacco against the Jets is going to be fun.
Yeah, what a comeback he had. He looked terrible
Did
early
he?
on, and he had a resilient. Yeah, he threw a couple bad picks, but he turned it around like Broadway Joe does, like the elite Joe Flacco does. And he has the Browns at 9-5. I mean, meanwhile, Trevor Simeon is just got sacked again. I just got word in my ear that he just got sacked again. And of course, the finish with Mike White. I wanted Mike
And
White for
like
Mike to throw a touchdown at the end. I really did.
the Browns are banged up on the offensive line too, right? If I'm not mistaken, didn't they lose
Yep.
Willis?
Yeah, they have a couple
And
backups there. Yep.
yeah, I mean, got to figure it out.
It's not even Christmas, and we are all in on Tankathon in a season we thought the Jets would contend for a Super Bowl. I'll remember the email I sent to Chris Shaw. I said, "Hey, is it too early about Super Bowl credentials?" He's like, "What do you think? One of these teams is going to be there?" And I said, Jets have a shot." And then the Giants beat the Cardinals. I'm like, "Oh, maybe the Giants have a shot." They both suck. And now the Giants lose today too. Both New York teams essentially done. Giants still mathematically alive. And we go on another year of ineptitude. New York football. All right, we'll preview the Commanders game Christmas Eve. Thursday, happy holidays, everyone. And we'll close this episode of Gangs All here next. Oh, the pain. The Jets' hopes are over. I mean, what a terrible season this was. There's really not many positives to take at all. Like, really nothing. Defense great all year. But yeah, listen, they've had a couple stinkers. 85 bears my ass. I mean, this defense is very good, but they do have some holes, and they got stuff to do this offseason. It's going to be very interesting. I think they should fire Saleh. I'm sorry. I think he's got to go. I don't think he's done anything in 3 years. I know he's had bad quarterbacks, but he's had no answers for anything on this offense, which has been atrocious. I would love to see an offensive-minded coach here. And I think you keep Ulbrich. I would love to keep Ulbrich, get an offensive-minded coach, and unfortunately, we're stuck with Hackett, I think, with Aaron Rodgers for at least 1 year. All right, that says goodnight to episode 171 of Gangs All Here, our Jets podcast from the New York Post. Thanks to Andrew Hartz for helping me produce the show. Intern Mason Verdicchio is done for the semester, so thanks to him for all his help. You can watch us on the New York Post Sports YouTube page. Give us a thumbs up below. Comment below. What are you watching for the rest of the season? What do you think of the coaching staff? Who stays? Who goes? Do you agree with Kaz? You run it back one more year. If they do, so be it. But like, I don't know. I don't think they've earned coming back. And you say, oh, these guys are your family. I get it, but you get paid to not coach if you get fired. It's not a bad gig to be a fired coach and still get paid 7 figures to not do anything and probably still get a job somewhere else. Watch us on New York Post Sports YouTube and subscribe wherever you get podcasts. Follow us on Twitter at Brian Kaz and tweet me at Jake Brown Radio. Kaz will do a mailbag this week. So Thursday show, we'll try and do a mailbag. So I'll have him tweet out and I'll retweet it, a tweet where you could reply to, and we'll read those, the tweets that are suitable for air. So keep it PG. If you got food questions, anything else, ask us, tweet us, let us know. We're all yours the rest of the year. Like, we want to hear from the fans. We want to get you guys involved here because we got to commiserate together. This is Jets therapy on Gangs All Here. Happy holidays, everyone. We'll be back on Thursday. For Brian Costello, I'm Jake Brown. It's Jets Commander Christmas Eve. Oh, what a doozy. Battle for the top 5. Kaz and I will preview that on Thursday. Thanks, everybody, for listening to Gangs All Here. Happy holidays. And we'll talk to you Thursday as we go on year 13 of no playoffs. Good night.